Welcome to Girl Please, where we dive into real conversations, real laughs, and real life. Just a quick note, the views and opinions expressed on this show are our own and don't represent anyone else's. We keep it fun, open, and honest, so let's get into it. This is Girl Please.
Welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Jessica.
And I'm your host, Carmen.
And this is Girl Please, the podcast.
I swear I'm breaking bad. Oh yeah, best believe you gon' come correct. Oh yeah, yeah. Just to let you know, you can't take my soul, but you get to me. I swear I'm breaking bad.
Welcome back, y'all. We have finally reached episode 5, and we have a guest today. I'd like to introduce my godson, Dom. Thanks for coming.
Of course.
Yes.
We're going to jump right into the wind down first and foremost. So today we have Stella Rosa Black, which I'm sure a lot of people have tried, but it's one of our favorites.
Yes, it is.
So Dom, we wanted to share this with you and see what you think.
I like Stella Rosa Black, actually. I've
Okay,
had it
good.
once before, and it was pretty good.
All right.
Which other ones have you tried?
Not many. I'm not really a wine person, but Stella Rosa Black
need some help.
is a special one.
Pull out those strong muscles.
Thank you.
There you go.
Had to put you to work today. All right, I'm going to go with you first.
Okay.
Just let us know what you think specifically. You said you like it.
That's
Tell us
good.
what you like. Tell us what you like about it.
Okay.
Jess.
To the rim, baby.
To the rim, baby. This is obviously a red wine. It's got a little fizz to it. That's what I like about it. And like we said before, it does go best with steak and red meat.
Mm-hmm.
This one I think is better.
I had it
really
at like a
cold.
wine tasting.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Perfect. So yeah, let's toast. Jess, you want to do the toast?
Sure. We are toasting to acceptance and what else should we toast to?
Vulnerability,
Yes.
tolerance,
And transparency.
being yourself.
Here we go. That's a good one.
Let's do it. Ooh, delicious.
That's a
Okay.
good one.
Very good.
Very.
All right, so we're going to get right into it, y'all. Today we have a super unique opportunity to speak to someone who is trans and open about it. We would like to start with the beginning of Dom's journey. We're so excited about asking all the hard questions, asking all of the questions that most people would think are offensive or just plain ignorant because we don't know. So today we're just going to have a very open conversation with Dom, and thank you so much for coming and being willing to share your story and being willing to just put it all out there because there are so many people like you, or there are so many people that have family members that are like you that just don't understand or don't know what to say.
Right.
So let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Can you tell us a little bit about your journey and how you went from being my goddaughter to being my godson?
Yeah. I think the first time that I realized that something was different, I guess you would say, was when I was about 6. That was kind of the first time that I realized I was like, something's not right. And then it kind of faded away until I had started to hit puberty. And then once I, of course, hit puberty and things started changing, and I was just like, this isn't right. I had friends and they wanted to do their makeup and they wanted to wear dresses and they were interested in boys. And I was like, that's not me. Like, that doesn't feel right to me. Like, y'all are very excited about this, but I'm like, why? Like, in my head, it just didn't fit. And then it just went on from there.
So when you say it didn't feel right around the age of 6, what do you mean by it didn't feel right?
I had this thought in my head, like, everybody calls me a girl. Everybody around me calls me a girl and refers to me as a girl, but I was like, that doesn't feel right to me.
Okay.
I was like, I don't feel like a girl. Like, because, I was a tomboy as growing up, you know. Like, I was out with the boys. I was scraping my knees. I was getting hurt. Like, I wasn't a girly girl. And there are people that are, of course, just tomboys, and then they become girly growing up. But for me, it was just like, I don't think I'm ever going to fit into that role. I don't think I'm ever going to mold to that. I'm never gonna be quote unquote a girl. Like I just didn't feel like that from a very early age.
Okay. So when you're little, it feels like an internal struggle as far as interests and gender roles at first. Is that kind of how it
That's how
starts?
it was for me. Yeah.
Okay.
Like I remember like we're gonna do a girls' day or we're gonna do a boys' day, and I remember wanting to go with the boys because I wasn't interested in the stuff that the girls were doing. I wasn't interested in going to get my nails done or going shopping or picking out clothes to wear. Like that wasn't something that I was ever like internally interested in, and it was definitely a battle based on external and internal, just trying to make those externally happy versus trying to make myself internally happy, and that was a battle for a really long time.
How long did you experience that battle?
Up until I started my transition, until I really made that decision that I was going to do it for myself, and that whatever anybody else felt or thought had really no concern with me, because at the end of the day, I needed to be happy.
Yeah. How heavy was that for you to carry that on for so long, you know?
It was heavy, and I think that those around me started to see that heaviness. Like Carmen, we spoke earlier, and she had said, I could see such a difference in you as soon as you started your transition. Like it was an immediate just change in your demeanor and your just outward appearance. Like you were happier.
Yeah, you probably felt relief too.
Right, and I felt a lot of relief, but before that relief, it was a lot of anxiety and a lot of depression, and it did, for some people, it does get bad enough to where it becomes suicidal thoughts, and it was that for me. I was just like, I can't do this as a female, and if I have to live my life as a female, I'd rather not just have a life. And it was very heavy. But luckily those around me saw how heavy it was, and I wouldn't say they gave me the go ahead, but they gave me that we're gonna accept you no matter what, and that was my fear, that I wasn't gonna be loved, I wasn't gonna be accepted, they weren't gonna want me around. But once I finally saw how much support that I did have, I kind of just leapt. And I went with it. And I was like, whatever happens, happens, because I had to save myself at the end of the day.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm glad you chose yourself, because a lot of times people don't, and they, you know, end up taking the detrimental route of committing suicide. It's very daunting to know that people go through those things and those feelings. What would be your best advice to somebody who is also going through the same thing as a kid, just not knowing how to, I guess, transition,
Right.
how to feel accepted by others, and all of these different emotions that they're feeling at this time? What would be the best advice you would give to them?
My first thing would don't put a label on it first. Like do your research, figure out who you are, the things that you like, the things that you enjoy, and then kind of do it in a more outward appearance. Like don't necessarily spring it on somebody before you know, because that creates a lot of outward confusion and a lot of inward confusion too. It creates a lot of just you don't know where you're going, or you feel like you have to be one thing and you can't be this thing. So I think don't put a label on it is the first thing. But then also, if you have those parents that aren't supportive, or you have people in your life that aren't supportive, my advice is to always do the safest option. If it's safer to not transition just yet, do that. But still protect your peace. Still set boundaries. And if you just have to isolate. Be around those people that do accept you, that want to be around you, that respect who you are. Essentially, and I mean, I've dealt with that with my own family and friends too, and I've just weeded them out essentially, because it weighs on my happiness and my mental health at the end of the day, and that's not something that I'm willing to give up for someone else.
And that's what it's all about.
That's what it is.
Right.
Your experience is your experience.
Right.
Like nobody else's judgment or how they see that your life should be lived out should be more important than how you feel it should be for yourself.
Yeah.
I
Like
agree.
nobody should have that type of control over you. And I mean, as when you're younger, of course, you're thinking of all of these things. You're thinking about other people's perspective and how they will respond to your choices or whatever. But you get to a point in a place in life and you decide, like, look, this is for me. I really could care less how you feel, you know?
Right. And that's the point that I got to. It was just like, okay, I'm 18. I have to make myself happy. I have to choose myself to get to this point that other people are at in life. Like, if I want to be in my 30s and I want to be happy, then I have to choose myself. Because in any other scenario, people are choosing themselves. They're not choosing to make other people happy. So even though it was definitely a heavy thing for everybody in my life to accept, and it was very different and new and just unheard of, essentially, it was a big step for me to take, but I had to do that to live my life.
So are you the first person in your family that you know of that has done this?
Okay. As far as I know, I'm the first person in the town, really. Like, I
don't know anybody.
Right.
Yeah, like, I mean, I was the first and I didn't present it in high school a lot because I had a lot of anxiety and stuff like that, and a lot of it came after high school, after I graduated. But once I did, I had a lot of, like, people come to me and they're like, hey, like, I didn't know, but thank you. Like, you being open with it and you presenting it to the public it's going to help me in the future. And that's not essentially what I did it for, because I did it to make myself feel comfortable, but I'm glad that I have been able to help people without knowing I'm helping people. Like, just because you can watch the things that I post, or you can look at the things that I have on my Instagram or stuff like that, it's different because you can see it and you know me, and there's a way to get to me, like an outreach. Right. You have an outreach, and I'm not going to publicly out you, in a sense, because I've been there. I've been where I've been talking to people, and I'm afraid that they're going to go tell it to some people I don't want to know, or like, if I get a new job, I don't want the people that are first start, I don't want them to know. Like, it's none of their business.
Right.
It's not a topic of discussion.
Right. And then if I'm comfortable with them and then I tell them, they're like, I had no idea. Like, what? Like, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah, but that helps me keep going, knowing that I'm helping other people live their truth, because it was very hard for me to live my truth.
When I was younger, I had a friend, and she was like that as well. I still love her to this day. When we were going to school or whatever, we didn't go to school together, but we played basketball together. And then, like, during summers and stuff, I would go over to her people's house that have cookouts and stuff like that. But she was the same way, and I never, judged her or anything. I just knew she was different,
right?
But I loved her the same, and even to this day, like, if I see her, I'll still hug her, talk to her, everything. Like, there's no judgment there. This is your life,
Can we go back a little bit, because you said it seemed like you did show that there's kind of a difference when it comes to your experience when you're little and you feel like basically you're not in the right body. Is kind of how most people that are trans would describe that. So at first, when you're a child and there isn't or shouldn't be sexuality that you're thinking about at that age, it does get to a point, like you said, when you get to puberty and then everything starts growing. This is when, hormones rage in whatever direction they're going to rage. Right. And so can you tell us what is the difference? Because this is something that I had to understand in the beginning. When Dom was in high school, you pretty much dressed how you do now. Right.
I dressed masculine in high school. Right.
Masculine. Yeah. So, we just assumed that Dom was going to like girls and dress like a tomboy, which was fine. So when the transition happened, or really the announcement of you wanting to transition at 18, my curiosity was about, where does sexuality overlap here? Because obviously sexuality isn't a thing when you're 6. Right. So at that point, it kind of goes to prove that this is more of an identity issue than a sexual issue. Right. And I don't mean issue in that way.
No,
but
I know.
Topic, rather.
Right, yeah.
So when you hit puberty, and you started to grow, you know, up top especially. How did that affect you as far as what you had already felt when you were younger? Did that kind of just solidify, okay, yeah, this is really not supposed to be happening. Why do I have boobs?
Right.
You know, like, I'm not supposed to have boobs.
And that was my thought during the whole process. It was like, because from a young age, I already did not feel like a girl. People are calling me girl. They're calling me she, her, and it didn't fit. So then as I got older and I hit puberty and I did start to grow boobs, it was like, this is foreign to me. That's what it felt like. It felt like I was outwardly somebody else, which I was. Essentially, I was different than how I felt on the inside. And so it created a lot of turmoil within me, because no matter how hard I tried to present myself as a male to the outside, I was still perceived as a female. And it just created a lot of inward turmoil. And it, like, just a lot of anger and self-loathing and depression and anxiety and not knowing what to do or what route to go. Because it's like, people see me this way, but I feel this way, but I don't want to make these people upset. But I don't want to disappoint myself either.
But I don't want to have boobs.
Right. And, like, I don't want to let myself go. Like, I just didn't feel like that was right for me. Like, I had friends and they're getting boobs, they're getting bras, they're going bra shopping, and they're wearing makeup. And it was just like, that's not what I want to do. Like, for me, it was like, why am I growing boobs? Like, don't put makeup on me. I don't want that.
You had to tell me that when you were little.
Yeah, like,
stop doing my hair like this.
Didn't wear dresses. Like, there's been a few times
Don't
I've
put
been
the
in dresses,
barrettes
and
on
you
me.
know that. I didn't like getting my hair done. I didn't like it wasn't for me. I just didn't like it, and for a long time I didn't understand why. And because I didn't want to put a label on it, because I was scared of that. And all throughout high school, I was called gay. You're gonna be gay. You like girls. And in the back of my mind, I knew I do like females, but gay is not the right label for me, because I knew that I did not want to present as a female. And that's where gender identity and sexual identity come in. I do like girls, but I don't feel like one. So I'm not a lesbian. If that makes any sense. It takes a lot of thought, but that's what the LGBT community is about. There's a broad range of all people. Yeah. People that are questioning bi, lesbian, trans, gay, whatever. But for me, it was, I know that I'm not a lesbian. I know that I'm not gay, because I don't outwardly present as a female. I don't want to do that.
Well, that was one of my first questions to you.
Right.
When you first told the family, this is what it is. This is what I'm doing. This is who I am. We were like, all right, like, we just have to get used to the pronouns, if you will, because obviously I've known Dom since I heard his first cry, literally.
Literally, yeah.
In the hospital. So Dom is like my first kid, my baby, before I had my own kids. So just because of being used to calling somebody by their given name and being used to calling you her or she, it took, I'm sure, my whole family a little bit of time to just change the way we spoke. And it takes practice.
It does.
Because even now, if I speak about you when you were a kid, I will say her.
Right.
Because at that time, that's how I knew you.
Right.
But now it's never, I don't stumble over it anymore in speaking to you in person in the present tense. But how important is it to people in your community to respect pronouns? Because we see a lot of debate about that. I've seen it in email.
Help me out on that. I'm not even gonna lie.
Yeah.
Right.
'Cause for real,
Help
sometimes,
everybody out. Yeah.
sometimes I get to the point where I'm like, I don't even want to say certain things because I just don't want to come off as offensive.
Right. And for everybody, it's different, I will say, because there are some people that present themselves as she, her, or he, him. But then you have people that present as they, them, and that's where it gets a little confusing.
I don't know what to say about it. I mean, what?
And truthfully, I'm not even gonna lie, I don't either. That's a little too far for me.
Okay.
Because I'm just straight he, him, and that's just what it is. But as far as respecting someone's pronouns, some people are comfortable with you just asking them, hey, what are your pronouns? But, like, if you really don't know and you just and you do want to know, it's always my personal thing is to just ask somebody. Be like, look, I don't want to do this wrong. I don't want to disrespect you. I don't want to negate what you have going on. I just want to be respectful, and I want to do this the right way. So for me, it's always just best to ask. And some people don't like to be asked. Just straight up, they don't want to be asked.
But that's hard for
It
people
is.
like us.
It is.
Like you can't I can understand having a conversation about respecting someone's pronouns when you work with them, for example.
Right.
No problem. I would have a conversation like, hey, what's your preference? But if you, for example, I had a waitress one time, and she presented as a woman, but it was very obvious that she was a man. So in that case, you don't really know. Like, she could have been a man who likes to dress in women's clothing. To me, there's a difference between that and someone who's trans.
Right.
That confuses
And that's where
me.
the line is very fine.
What do you say? Like, I can't look at them and say, should I call you a man or woman? Because I think that is also offensive.
Right.
Because she's like, well, I'm a woman. Well, you don't look like one to me, frankly.
And that's where the line is very, very fine also, because you have those people who are quote unquote they, them. So they're presenting as both, or they're presenting as androgynous, and you don't really know. And that's where it does get hard. And
I just say hi there.
And I do too, honestly, because I don't even know what to do in those scenarios all of the time. Like, it's hard because everybody is so different.
That makes me want to shift the conversation a little bit into perspective on how sometimes people won't be forthcoming about their transitions. How do you feel about that?
If it's not in depth, you just scratching the surface.
What's going on, listeners? Before we jump into the next section of the podcast, we want to take a second to thank our incredible sponsors, No Label. At No Label, they believe in more than just clothing. We believe in empowering individuals to embrace their mental health journey while fostering a sense of community that thrives on understanding and support. Not only do we create stylish clothing and comfortable streetwear for everybody from men, women to children, but we also support our community through a variety of mental health resources and mental health advocacy. We provide vital mental health support in the home, school, and community settings. Our mission is to eliminate stigma surrounding mental health to encourage open conversation. So when you choose No Label products, you're not only getting fantastic apparel, you're contributing to a movement that promotes mental health awareness and support. Together, we can make a difference. For more information, please visit our website at www.ihavenolabel.com to explore our empowering clothing line and discover more about the mental health support initiatives that we're doing in your communities today.
I don't like that. I think that if you feel safe enough to invite someone into your life, then you need to feel safe enough to give them this information, because it is heavy and it's not something that everybody accepts.
Right.
And so I hide it. I wouldn't say hide it, but it's not something that everybody in my life is going to know.
Right.
Meaning coworkers, acquaintances, people I meet on the street. Not everybody is going to know.
Because, they don't need to.
Right. But if I'm inviting you into my life, before it even gets to a point where we become intimate or close or friends or whatever, I want you to know the real me. I want you to know who I am, because I don't want to have to defend myself if something is said by somebody else that knows and is okay with it, and we're comfortable and we're cool. Like, if I, like, say my girlfriend didn't know, and then I bring her over to Carmen's house, and she mentioned something about me when I was younger as a female, and my girlfriend didn't know, that would be
It's a lot.
another detrimental situation that I would have to handle. And so for me, it's just be open, be honest, and let them know what is going to happen, because not only is it protecting them from getting into something they don't want to be in, it's protecting me and my safety.
Right.
And from getting myself hurt. Because I could not tell you, 6 months down the road, I could let you know you absolutely despise that, and then
lose it.
and then something happens, right? And that's just not, because I mean, you hear stories about that all the time.
Yeah.
People, they don't accept trans people, and then they go out for a one night stand and
They die.
they're dead in the alley. Like it's not, it's common,
not nothing to play with,
right? And so for me, if I feel safe enough to let you into my life, immediately I'm gonna let you know. But I also don't. I kind of assess the situation. If I feel like you're not gonna accept it, or I feel like there might be a problem, or like a little bit of a deeper, like, what am I like, not scenario, but like a deeper, you're trying to do something deeper here, then I'm not gonna invite you into my life, because it's not, I have to protect myself at that point.
Right.
For sure.
Right.
And that's, to me, what it's all about, is protecting yourself, whether that's coming out. Protect yourself when you're coming out. Don't do it if you don't feel safe. Do it around people that you do feel safe with. Like I had friends that I didn't feel like I was comfortable coming out to. And then I had friends that I just dove into their arms, and I was like, this is what's going on, and this is who I am, and I can't change it. And luckily those people accepted me, and those friends accepted me, but I felt safe. But even with family, there's people that I didn't feel safe around because they didn't accept it.
Did you lose a lot of friends?
Not a lot, but a few here and there. Just
You had a pretty good support system when it came to your friends.
just because they didn't understand, the ones that I did lose, they didn't understand, and that's okay.
Have you talked to any of them, like, since?
Here and there, but it's just mostly been on a like a how are you kind of thing, and we just move on. But it's never been like an in-depth conversation of like,
If you had the chance to say anything to these people, what would you say to them?
that I'm happier than I've ever been, and that I genuinely feel like this is who I'm supposed to be.
Oh, can we toast to that?
Let's toast
We
to
Can we
can.
toast to being happy?
Toast to
can.
being happy and being yourself.
Yes.
Okay.
Y'all are babysitting
love
per
that.
usual.
To the rim.
Who is y'all?
Oh, you're not.
No.
Let's get our guests a little refill.
But yeah,
Hey, can I get it?
I genuinely feel happy. Like, and Carmen can tell you from an outside perspective, as soon as I started my transition and I started outwardly presenting as a male, things changed for me drastically. I felt more loving. I felt more hopeful about life. I felt more caring about others. And Carmen can tell you, I did not like hugs. I was not a hugger before.
But now you are.
Like it, right? It was. They had to struggle to get a hug from me. Like it wasn't. The whole group of family is there. We're having a cookout, 4th of July. Everybody's there. Everybody's hugging. We're celebrating. Not me. I'm in the back in hoodie and sweatpants, standing like this.
Don't touch me. Don't touch me.
Literally,
I'ma
don't
you
touch
not.
me. Literally.
Yeah.
And as soon as I started to transition and I felt accepted and I was more open about it, it was like a switch flipped. It was completely
literally
different.
a switch. And it's almost like it goes to show you that when people say that when you love yourself, you can love others.
Yeah.
I think that is what happened with you.
I agree.
Because, of course, you loved your family, your siblings, your
Right.
friends. But it's hard to accept love
Yeah,
when
and it's
you
hard
don't
to
love
show it.
yourself.
Right.
And it's
Right.
hard to show it when you're struggling with your identity, you're struggling with, accepting yourself. And it's almost like when you said, hey, this is who I am, this is what I want you to call me, this is what I'm going to be doing.
Take
Love
it
it
or
or
leave
leave
it.
it.
Right.
We were
Take
like,
it or
oh,
leave it.
okay, well, we'll
Right.
work on the whole pronouns thing, but okay,
Right, and-
you're still our baby.
And I knew that was a process for y'all, so
Yeah.
it was a process for me. Because as much as I wanted it to be immediately Dominic, he, him, I knew it wasn't going to be like that.
I think I explained that to you too, because
Right.
you got frustrated in the beginning.
I did, right.
So Dom
Right.
says, call me he. This is my name, Dom. It's
Right.
not my given name. So then, you know, it's like when I speak of you immediately, your name that I've been calling you for the last 18 years is going
Right.
to come to mind. And so you've had the time to process all of this on your own with us just kind of floating around and not knowing.
Right, just
completely.
in the background. Exactly.
So it's like, I think I told you, I was like, you know, I said, this is not because we don't accept you. It's because we have to just, this whole mental transition that you've had, we have to have now.
Right.
You've already done
Right.
it. You know, so it took us a little while, but it was really just like muscle memory. Like we just had to remember, okay, it's not
Right.
she, it's he.
And then I think as I progressed on testosterone and I grew facial hair and my chest flattened and things like that, I think that helped a little.
Yeah, it
of
would have
course.
been hard to call you she now.
Exactly. Right. Like, yeah. So, but that conversation did help me kind of understand and realize, okay, you're right. I have done this already mentally.
Yeah.
And now it's time for everybody else to do the same. And there's still slip ups here and there.
Yeah.
But they don't bother me as much because I know that now is more so a muscle memory thing. It's more of just a natural thing of who I remember this person and who they used to be.
Yeah.
And that's who you still see me as, of course. Granted, I'm different. I'm a completely different person, but you still remember me as this child,
As who I was.
as this baby, as your little one. And there are going to be slip ups here and there, and that's okay. And I'm not pressed about it. Like, I don't dwell on that because it's not intentional.
Yeah.
Right.
If it was intentional, which I have had it be intentional before, it's like,
you wanna
okay.
speak on that a little bit?
I mean, I've had plenty of people like do it intentionally or say that I'll never be anything but a girl or I'll never be a man. Like I've had that before, and those people just simply aren't in my life anymore because that's not something that I'm able to mentally battle. You can't tell me that I'm not going to be a man if you're not doing what a man does either. It's just as simple as that.
Drops the
Drops
mic.
Mike.
Because women can do what men do at the end of the day. Women can do anything that men can do.
Anything you can do, I can do
better.
So for someone to tell me that I'm never going to be a man based off of what's in my pants is just beyond me.
And the what's in my pants conversation you and I have had several times because, so like I said, Dom was basically my first child. So with that came my kids knowing Dom as a female up until he was 18. So some of my kids remember and some don't.
Yeah.
So the big kids, as I call them, they remember Dom as a young female teenager. My younger kids, I don't know about.
Not so much D. I think he was probably maybe 2. He was born in
Okay.
what, 2016?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So he's kind of always known you as Dom, but he's aware actually. So I've talked to my kids a lot about obviously homosexuality because I do have friends that are in that community.
Right.
And then also with you being a family member, I thought it was really important to have that conversation because I didn't want someone else to have that conversation and then not speak to it.
Yeah.
In the way that I do.
And respect it too.
Yeah.
Right.
Because basically when it comes to the kids and their acceptance of you, it didn't take long.
It
They
didn't.
might have been better off than the adults were.
I think so, yeah. Like, I remember specifically Kai one time asking me, are you a girl or a boy? Just like out of the blue one time.
Yeah.
And I kind of just told him, and I think I was more boy presenting at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm a boy.
He was like,
But
"All
I've
right."
also like walked into a girl's bathroom before, and I've had a little girl say, "Why is the boy in the girl's bathroom?" Like,
Yeah.
so it's kind of been like it's been a balance, but definitely I think having that conversation and just being open with the kids about it has helped a lot.
Yeah.
Because I've been open with them about it. I've never, especially your big kids, I'm not gonna hide it because you obviously have seen me this way.
Or we'll see old pictures.
Right, and then you expect this person to grow up and be one way, but I'm a completely different way than you would ever expect this little girl with 4 braids and bows to be. You know what I'm saying? So that I've just been open with the kids, and I've been not in a vulgar sense, or not in a sense that's too much for them to understand. But I was born a girl, but now I'm a boy, and
being honest.
It hasn't even had to be this in-depth thing anyway.
It hasn't, yeah.
It hasn't had to be. And, you know, something about my kids that I try to teach them, because I have my own personal, you know, principles as far as what is for me. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to other people and their choices and how they choose to live, you know, I know people that are straight that are awful people.
Absolutely.
That I wouldn't want around my children, or that I wouldn't want nurturing my kids in any way.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I had to tell my kids when it comes to homosexuality, because I have friends in that community, and then when it comes to you, when it comes to, they're two separate topics, obviously, but when it came to homosexuality, I think that was the first conversation I had to have with them, due to another friend and a wedding that I went to.
Right.
They're like, wait a minute. And I was like, look, if that person loves and respects you and they treat you the way they treat you, I said, you know, to my kids, I said, sexuality is about who you sleep with. Mm-hmm. And you are a kid, and you don't need to be worried about another person's sexuality.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I said, so if a person treats you well and respects you and loves you, what they do in their bedroom is none of your business. Mm-hmm. Just like what I do in the bedroom in a heterosexual way is not my kids' business.
Exactly.
So I think sometimes parents complicate the situation
For
way
sure.
Like, you guys make it way too hard. It's not your business what's in Dom's pants. It's really
and
that simple.
I was going to say that's where that conversation comes into topic, because one, it's none of your business, but two, how does it affect you from living your daily life?
It doesn't.
And how does me being born a female and then transitioning to a male, how does that affect your daily life?
It doesn't.
Because at the end of the day, I'm the happiest that I've ever been. And for me, that's going to make the world a better place, because I'm not going to see the world as a dark place. I'm not going to see everybody as an enemy or feel all of the hatred that's in the world. I'm going to want to show the light that I feel and the love that I feel. Yeah. That's what I want to do. Just because I'm different doesn't mean that I'm a bad person.
Yeah, and I think that's a misconception.
It
like
definitely is.
People assume that you're hypersexual and you want to sleep with, you know, everybody because you're gay or you're trans. And that with my friends in that community, it's just not they behave in the same way that my heterosexual friends do.
Yeah. Like, so, I'm 24. I have 4 bodies. It's not that. Like, it's not.
Good job, kid.
It's not because I want to be over sexual or I want to explore or anything like that. It's exactly, and it, like, even everybody that I've been in a relationship with have told me, I forget that you're trans. Like, I genuinely forget because it's just not on their minds 24/7. Now, granted, they see me without my shirt all the time. They see my scars. They see me take my shots. They see the struggles that I have on a daily basis, but they still don't look at me as trans because I'm the happiest I've ever been, because I am my authentic self. And I genuinely feel this is how I was meant to be born. Like, it's not, this isn't an act. This isn't a phase. This is something lifelong for me. And it's different for everybody, and that's why I say don't put a label on it so early, because there are people who detransition, and that's not something I technically agree with.
My next question.
Right, and that's not something I technically agree with, because once you start transitioning, there are things that change and they can't never change back.
Can you go back a little bit on your transition and like your first experience in seeing changes in your body when you started? I know you took testosterone soon after you turned 18, right?
Yeah.
So did you have any fears or curiosities about how that would change your body, or were you excited?
I was excited, but I also had met with people that informed me of everything. Like, I went to specifically Planned Parenthood, and there's people there who are trans and will advocate for trans people, and they do have a lot of help, and it's called informed consent at Planned Parenthood. But before you sign that paper, they go over every single detail of what's going to happen, every change that's going to happen, when you can expect it. But prior to that, I had done my own research on trans people all across the United States. I was doing massive amounts of research day in and day out. So I knew that this is what I wanted to do, and these were the changes that I wanted to happen. But as they were happening to me, it kind of felt like they were happening slower than others. But I realized about 3 months being on testosterone, they're coming rapidly. I mean, rapidly.
Dom came over one day, and I was like, "Is that a beard?"
It literally,
You
like
got a mustache?
I just started growing facial
And I
hair
lifted his
one
shirt
day.
up, and I was like, "You got a happy trail? Like,
Yeah,
what is
like
happening?"
a happy trail, the V line, like the hair, like it all just started happening. But as it was happening, I felt myself gaining more comfort in myself. I found myself being happier with myself, and people in the trans community call it a second puberty because that's essentially what it is. You're putting yourself through puberty again. So I'm 18 years old, had already been through a female puberty at 12, 13 years old, and now I'm putting myself through a male puberty. So it was a learning curve for sure. And now still to this day, people think I'm a lot younger than I am because I put myself through male puberty way later than a male goes through puberty. But that's just what it is for a trans person. And I don't have any negative feelings towards that. It is what it is, just like a lot of other things are what they are that come with being trans. Like you just got to take it on the chin.
Yeah.
You just got to take it on the chin. You got to roll with the punches because every day is going to be different. Every story is going to be different. Every person is going to be different.
So I remember later on in high school, I remember you binding your chest. So what made you go to the extreme, as a lot of people would think, to have top surgery? Where did the courage come to do that? Because that is so permanent.
Right.
The first thing people talk about is the scars.
Yeah.
And I do think part of the top surgery curiosity for people is some people think that trans people try to hide that they're trans. And if you are a smaller breasted woman, then it's probably a lot easier to hide, which wasn't necessarily the case for you. But what made you go to top surgery?
It was my outward appearance. I wanted to present myself in such a way that I could not with a chest, with boobs. I couldn't. I always pictured myself sitting on a beach with no shirt and my swimming trunks. I can't do that with boobs. I always pictured myself.
I just picture that.
Right. And like that's
confusing,
what I've
honestly.
always pictured in my head. It's just I like laying on my chest at night and it being completely flat.
Like, how are you gonna have a happy trail and boobs?
Right, like it just didn't make sense.
And a beard.
So it was just like, and once you start testosterone, the fat redistributes, and it's just essentially flabs of skin. They gotta go.
Really?
Yes, they're just flabs of skin
Oh no.
because your fat redistributes. So I remember the first time I had went to my surgeon, and he was marking me up. He was like, "Your pecs are great, like, because right here is what they consider your pecs, but my boobs were literally hanging down to here because they were just skin. Like that's all they are is skin. So essentially, they need to go."
So the top surgery is more of an outward confirmation
It
of
is.
who you feel like on the inside.
It is, and then whereas bottom surgery, I personally feel like is a more inward kind of deal. Because
I was going to ask about that.
that's
Have you
more
considered?
sexual and that's more intimate, and I have not considered because they need to do better. Have you ever seen the worm on SpongeBob?
Yes.
Remember that big white one?
So in other words, you want a big one if you're going to have
No,
one.
listen to me.
Okay.
You remember the big white one, and he like crawls into his mouth, and he's like, "It's a worm." That's what they look like,
Oh.
and it's scary.
Don't put that thing by me.
It's scary.
Keep it.
I don't want it.
Zip it up.
I don't want it. So
Kill it with fire.
They need to do a little bit more construction and get Bob the Builder on the case before
Bob the Builder.
before they
Go gadget.
and
Build
it's-
it.
literally because they also have to take skin from another part of your body, so that's extra healing because they take it from your arm or your leg or sometimes your butt, and that's how they essentially make it. But then you have to heal from having a skin graft and this part of your body being taken off to make something else, and it's a 4-part surgery, It's just
too
not my
much.
cup of tea.
I looked it up.
It's not my cup of tea.
I looked it up years ago. Don't.
Personally, for
Don't.
me, you can go buy it and
That's what I'm saying.
be happy.
right.
Because you're not going to like what you like, so just go buy it.
And
So,
that's it.
okay.
And that's what we're going. All right. If you can't grow it,
Buy it.
Buy it. There you go.
thank you, Dom.
Mm-hmm.
We appreciate you. We had a great time.
Of course,
Yes.
of course.
Please, please, please come back again for another episode of Girl, Please.
The podcast.
Things so good and girl, you know it. Yeah, you know if you so bad and gonna show it. We make them mad, yeah, they know it. It's Joe Frost.